Welcome back, science students. I'm Mr. Silverstein. Today we're going to talk about how to write a great discussion post. So these slides are posted for you on your Google Classroom. Take some personal notes. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. So our lesson here is to help you understand how to write a discussion post. And a discussion post is a way that students and teachers interact with the course's ideas and lessons. And the best discussion posts demonstrate an understanding of the course material and present a cohesive argument with some evidence to back it up. Now, normally in a classroom session, we would have a discussion back and forth, but a discussion post shows your conversation, what you're talking about, in written form posted to your Google Classroom. And so our objective today is to demonstrate knowledge of a topic through written expression supported by evidence and how to create a discussion post. So what is a discussion post? Well, a discussion post is an open exchange of ideas, information, and supported arguments regarding a topic being learned and discussed among students and teachers. Discussion posts and replies serve as an opportunity for you to communicate your thoughts with your instructor as well as with your fellow classmates. Ideally, the posts you write should highlight and expand upon what is being taught in the course. It's not a repeat of what we've done. It's talking about your ideas and your thoughts on what we're working on. These posts typically range from 100 to 300 words. Sometimes they're short, sometimes they're long. If the assignment was going to require more than 300 words, we'd make it a formal essay. But I want you to think about these things in the span of 100 to 300 word responses. And remember that the minimum word count is always just the minimum. So what is the scope of a DP? Well, discussion posts are going to ask you to consider the recent class materials, the lessons, and the assignments, and to form your own opinion, backed up with evidence, about the topic covered, and sometimes it asks you to respond to another student's post. These assignments are going to strengthen your writing and debating skills and allow you to exchange ideas with others. But remember, these posts are graded, so avoid using slang and make sure to be polite when responding to other posts and make sure all the material is yours. So before you write your discussion post, you need to read the instructions and the question prompt. The instructions are really important. As we learned when we were looking at the process of photosynthesis, everything has some steps along the way to make sure that you're successful with it. Make sure that you fully understand the question and the supporting material that you should have been looking at before you begin your writing. Make sure you review your lecture materials, notes, videos, and any assignments prior to answering the question prompt. Plan your time accordingly, as DPs have very strict deadlines. And what we mean by that is when we want that due by 10 o'clock on Sunday, that's when it's due. Anything after that won't be accepted on these. How often will we do DPs? Well, at this point in the semester, you're going to be doing 1 or 2 of them. And then as we get into the next semester, you'll be doing them fairly often. So depending upon the unit or concept, DPs can happen at least once a month or as often as once a week, depending upon what we're working on. There will be a question prompt designed to find out what you think or know about a particular topic. In using your own words, you get to explore ideas and share information with peers. And we're going to start you out with a simple QA for this first assignment. Now, it's important that even though it's your own words, you're also using the proper language from that particular topic. You have to use the vocabulary and the language in that topic that helps demonstrate what you know about that topic. Then we're going to expand to interactive posts with peers. So we're going to start out at first with some simple QAs where you're going to be responding to a variety of questions in your own words with supporting evidence. And then later on, we're going to expand to where you'll ask your peer a question or a peer is going to ask you a question and you're going to respond. DPs are pretty common in college. And so this is really going to give you a leg up when it gets time for you to go to college. So first, you're going to need to organize your thoughts. It's important that anyone reading your post understands what you are saying and that it is articulate and easy to read. Easy to read doesn't mean simple words. Easy to read means it's well organized. You want to gather any resources you want to use. You want to use quality references to support your claim or position that enhances the dialogue. Make sure you write everything offline first. I've been writing for a very long time, and I learned a long time ago, never write your assignment in the assignment tab the first time. Always write it on paper first, always write it on a separate Google Doc or a separate Word doc so you can refine it. Then when it's ready, then you'll add it in to the assignment tab. So when it comes to your post, and we talk about it being a post, realize that you're submitting it to your teacher to read and understand and respond to you. But after you post yours, you will get a chance to read what your other classmates have written. So I want you to make sure that your post is going to start a dialogue of some sort. The post should allow for interaction and discussion by asking for feedback. Ask a question at the end of your post. We may be talking about a topic of, let's say, cellular respiration. And you may want to add in a question at the back end of it as to, why cellular respiration is important. You'll find how to do that as you write many of these. I want you to take a controversial stand sometimes within reason. If you have a strong opinion about something and that opinion can be backed up with evidence, take that controversial stand. Don't be outlandish, don't be insulting, but think about how you want to present that topic. Include current events if you can. Relate it to something going on. You can also incorporate a personal experience. You've been in my classroom enough and you know that I will often include a personal experience with my discussions. Most important, don't make stuff up. Just because you think something might be that way, go out and verify it first. Don't make stuff up. Let's talk about spelling and grammar. You want to avoid all spelling and grammatical errors. At this point in time in your educational career, you should know how to use a dictionary and you should know about grammar. If you're not sure how to do it, make sure you write it offline first, have someone else proofread it. I want you to treat all your discussion posts as if they were formal papers. Everything needs to be perfect. It's not casual. It's not text speak. Write everything offline. Make sure you use spell check and grammar check and know how to use them. And proofread before posting it to the assignment tab. Posts with spelling errors and bad punctuation are not taken seriously and will not earn a good grade, even if all the content was brilliant. Let me repeat that. Posts that have spelling errors and poor punctuation are not taken seriously and will not earn a good grade, even if it's brilliant. For me, as I'm grading these, before I even read them, I check for punctuation, grammar, spelling errors. If there's a bunch of them in there, it doesn't get taken seriously at all. Ask someone else to read your written assignment before posting it to check for errors. You can even send a draft of it to your teacher and say, hey, can you take a look at this for me? Make sure you've already proofread it first. We want to see your absolute best draft, not your worst. So let's take a look at a sample DPQA. And so this is a sample question. This may come up on your discussion post. And this question is, what is urban planning? Now, first off, it's going to go under the assumption that we've been talking about urban planning and that all the students in the class have been learning about urban planning. And this is a simple DP, 75 to 125 words. 75 is a rock bottom minimum, which means that you would get a low score on it. 125 words is the maximum. Don't want to read any more than that. So this would be a sample DP that someone has written. Urban planning is a process that analyzes and designs the use of land for an urban environment. It includes understanding the issues involved with politics, environment, infrastructure, and transportation. With this understanding, planning will include the development of communities that are not only efficient, healthful, and convenient, but those that are attractive and energy efficient. Urban planning can expand to include issues of interstate and international commerce in its ultimate design. Now, that response took into consideration a lot of information that was taught in that class on urban planning that week. Now, you'll notice I put in here that this is 71 words. This requirement was 75 to 125 words. This is only 71 words. We'll talk about that in a second. So, was that a good post? Let's analyze what the post is. You first want to ask yourself, before you submit your post, does it meet the criteria of the assignment? I'm going to jump back here for a second. This asked, what is urban planning? So, does it meet the criteria of the assignment? Did it answer the question? This particular post, yes, the response clearly answered the question. Did it have spelling or grammar errors? Well, no, there were no spelling or grammar errors at all in that response. Did it have supporting evidence? Well, there were no claims made, and so the writer did not state specific facts or use quotes. As such, citation evidence was not needed. But had they put in a quote or used a fact or a piece of information, they would have had to provide the supporting evidence in the form of a citation or a reference. Did it meet the word count? No, the assignment called for 75 to 125 words. 71 words does not meet the requirement. This post was only 71 words. Now you might be saying, well, 71, 75, that's not a big difference. Yeah, it is, because it did not meet the criteria of the assignment. What kind of grade would it get? Well, because the word count was off, this would get a minimum grade of 55%. If, however, it had met the word count that particular post probably would have earned about an 85 to an 88. It was a pretty good post, but it did not meet all the criteria of the assignment. So why are word counts important? Well, word count's important so that the reader, me, someone else, can get a clear understanding of your view on the topic. If the response is too short, key information may be left out. If the response is too long, the reader may be overloaded with too much information. A discussion post is a snapshot, a very specific piece of information about what you know. Discussion posts are part of a conversation. They assume that the audience already has knowledge of the subject. As such, you don't need long introductions, and big summaries are not needed. And you also never want to repeat things in a discussion post. They're very, very, very small pieces of information covering a fairly broad amount. So we've talked about the initial post, and then there are going to be times where you're going to have a response post. Sometimes the assignment is going to ask you to write a post and then for you to read another student's post and respond to them or ask them a question. If you are to respond to another student, don't wait until the last minute. Watch posts that are going on for a few hours and then select the one you would like to respond to. Remember, you don't get to read someone else's posts until you've submitted yours. When you go to respond, give substantial information in your response post. It should not consist of, oh, I agree, or that's a nice idea. Instead, the response should be thoughtful, add something different to the conversation, and keep a discussion going. We'll get to response posts probably next semester as we move into genetics and DNA. Most important, wait for the original poster to respond, and if needed, add one more comment. You may add a question to it. Have you considered that the pollution in the air is affecting the rainwater that is feeding the plants? That could be a question. And then you wait for your original poster to respond. So those are response posts, and we'll get more into those as we develop these discussion posts. Let's talk about supporting statements. Whenever writing a discussion post, include something that's credible outside of your own thoughts. Now, the earlier post that we looked for, which was a short one, it was only a 75 to 125 word post, probably didn't have enough room in there to include a supporting statement. But a supporting statement would be a quote from class notes. It could be a quote from a textbook. It could be a quote from a current events article. And it could be a quote from some research. Most important, make sure if you are going to use a quote or a supporting statement that you have the citation. Make sure you include that citation in the discussion post. So after the post is there, you put a couple of lines down and you just put your proper citation, not a website link. So how do you format your post? Well, that's where it gets kind of interesting. First, write it offline first. Write it offline, proofread it, go over it a few times, make sure it's perfect. You can write it on paper, or you can write it on a Google Doc or on Word. Save that and date it for what it is, and then you'd pick that up and drop it into your discussion post. Make sure you're using full sentences with punctuation. Full sentences, 8 to 10 word sentences with punctuation. Indent the first sentence in the paragraph if you can. Use a line break between paragraphs. When you go to post on Google Classroom, and we're going to show you how to do that in a little while, you're going to be working in a very small space. So you need to make sure that you typically put in 2 lines between paragraphs so that the words don't run on top of each other. Place a proper citation at the bottom. And your citation should either be APA or MLA format. In your English classes, you're using MLA format. In your science classes, we use APA format, and we can help you with that in another resource. Remember, most discussion posts require 75 to 225 words. And each assignment will have a specific count. One assignment may ask for 100 words. Another one may ask for 200 words. Another one, 175 words. That's what you're going to need to work with. So this is a sample DP for science. And let me give you one here. This is to compare and contrast autotroph and heterotroph. Make sure you use proper terminology and process flow. Any quotes require a citation. This is 75 to 150 words. So let's read this one. Living organisms obtain energy in one of 2 ways. Autotrophs are chemical energy and carbohydrate food molecules they build themselves. Because most autotrophs transform sunlight to make food, the process is called photosynthesis. Only 3 groups of organisms, plants, algae, and some bacteria, can use this process. Heterotrophs cannot make their own food, so they must eat or absorb it. For this reason, heterotrophs are also known as consumers, and consumers include all animals and fungi and many protists and bacteria. They may consume autotrophs or other heterotrophs or organic molecules from other organisms, but heterotrophs are limited by dependence on autotrophs that initially made our food. If plants vanish from the earth, heterotrophs would soon disappear as well. All life requires a constant input of energy. Now, that's 127 words. It's more than the minimum, less than the maximum. It has paragraphs. And it's pretty good. And in fact, it is pretty good. Let's see how good. Do not copy from the internet. Let me repeat that. Do not copy from the internet. It's 9:30 p.m. on a Sunday night, and your discussion post is due by 10 p.m. You blew off all of that week's work, and you have to get this done, or your parents are going to take away your Xbox or your iPhone. So you copy the question and drop it into Google. Boom, there's the answer. It's right there. Pops right up at the top of the search page. You look around and you grab it. You copy it and you paste it into the assignment. You change a couple of words and you submit it. Now it's off your to-do list. You've submitted it, and hopefully you think you're going to get away with it. 3 days later, you get a 0 and 6 hours of detention because you got busted for plagiarism. How does he know? First off, do not do that. So how do you know I copied? Oh, there's a typo there. It says I. Well, we use special software. And before I'm even going to read your discussion posts, it's going to get grammar checked, spell checked, and we're going to be checking it for plagiarism. My software starts to show up with these nice little lines on here telling me that these paragraphs all came from someplace else. And then, not only does it show it, it shows me exactly where it came from. Now, most of the time, a good teacher can look at the writing and know if it's on grade level or if it's not, if it's your material or not. Oftentimes, students end up using some words that were never used in our vocabulary set that are way beyond the scope because that's what they grabbed off to the internet. So we know you've copied it. So discussion post is your opportunity. Writing helps you communicate your thoughts in a clear and expressive way. We speak and write differently. When we speak, we have all kinds of inflections. We have all kinds of pauses and ways that we express what we mean. But writing's a little bit differently. It takes a little bit more talent and a little bit more specific areas. It's also specific and organized. Writing helps you learn about topics because you're the one that's telling someone else about it. And because you're telling others about it, the information must be accurate, factual, and clear. So let's summarize this. Discussion posts are a way students and teachers interact with the course's ideas and lessons. The best discussion posts demonstrate an understanding of the course material and presented in a cohesive argument with evidence to back it up. And so now you should understand the importance of discussion posts. They're really a lot of fun, by the way. What constitutes a discussion post and how to write one. Next is going to be your assignment. So this week's assignment, which is posted in L3, the prompt says, connecting the ideas you have learned from the food webs and photosynthesis concepts, respond to the following questions in discussion post format. Hint, by the way, there's 4 questions here. Which of the following, producer, primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, use photosynthesis as their main source of energy? Why don't they all use photosynthesis as a source of energy? If photosynthesis was not occurring, what would be the overall outcome for the entire food web? And how does photosynthesis fit into the human cellular functions? Now there's some more instructions on your assignment, but we're going to take a look at it together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this screen and we're going to jump off to Google Classroom and we're going to show you the student side of what this is going to look like and how you can do it. So I'm going to share my screen to a Google Classroom screen. Let's get here and find it. It's in here somewhere. Oh, let me close that. I'm going to go here, get out of that, and let's go share another screen here. Let's share a screen. Let's get here. Let's share that. And so we're going to go into Google Classroom. Let me find it here for us. Let me go into my Google Classroom for you. I apologize. Google. Let me change my account. Go to my student account. Pop into Classroom. Go into my biology class, go into my classwork, and we're going to open this up, and we're going to see that we have this assignment. For this assignment, you'll write your response to the prompt below. This is a writing assignment, requires you to use vocabulary and concepts. Make sure that if you use any material from the internet, that you only paraphrase and provide a proper citation. Then comes the prompt. Make sure you read all these instructions carefully. The prompt. Connecting ideas that you've learned from the food webs, respond to the following discussion post format. 175 to 250 words. Now, you're going to see up here that this is where you type your answer. Now that looks pretty difficult to put in there. So what I like to do is I like to write my stuff offline first. So I'm going to open up another tab. Let's duplicate our tab. And then I want to open up a Google Doc. Just go into Docs. Click on blank. Create a new document. And by the way, this is actually saved to your Google Drive. In the top left here, change the name of the document to DP number 1, the date, I don't know, 11/24, and your last name. Now you can track it. Now here, you can work on your discussion post. What I would do is I go back to the discussion post and I'm going to grab the question. You grab the question, go back to your Google Doc and drop it in there. And from here, I can start to do my work. Okay, if photosynthesis is not occurring, what would be the overall outcome of the entire food web? How does photosynthesis fit into cellular functions? I want to break apart these questions so that I can see what they are without them running into each other. And then I start to respond to each of them as individual questions, and then I'm going to put them all together afterwards. So how does photosynthesis fit into human cellular functions? I may put in there photosynthesis provides the plants with glucose that other organisms use for food source. Now that's just not a single sentence response. We're going to expand on this and talk about how it works in the food web. And I'm going to continue to build all that together. Then I'm going to proofread it. And by the way, in your Google Docs, there are some tools. You have spelling and grammar check that you have available. Make sure you use those. And then when I'm all done and it's all proofread and everything's good, and this one isn't complete yet, but I'm just showing you the process of doing this, you're going to make sure that it's been proofread and clean and everything is set up properly. Remember, paragraphs need to have 3 to 5 sentences. Then after it's all done, I will check my word count. And to check your word count, go to Tools, Word Count, and this says it has 66 words. Does it meet the criteria? No. So I'm going to have to keep on doing some work. Then when I'm all said and done and I have it, I'm going to pick it up and grab it. I'm going to jump back to my Google Classroom, and I'm going to paste it into that spot. If I need to have a paragraph, I'm going to put in the paragraphs we wanted. Once it's all done, all I got to do is turn it in. Now it's turned in. Then you can take a look and see if there are any other classmate answers. Did any other classmates respond? Not yet. Maybe they will later on. And so that's how you submit your discussion post. I'm going to stop sharing this screen right now and finish up with you. So that's how you get a discussion post set up. Those slides are posted for you. You can go back and look at them. If you want us to look at a draft of something ahead of time, please feel free to email it to us. But remember, discussion posts are a way that you get to share what you know about a particular topic with your teacher and your peers. Well, that's all I have for you now. I'm Mr. Silverstein. If you have any questions, email me or email your other teachers, and we'll get back to you soon. You guys have a great day.